Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So today we're going to be looking at and doing a full review on the DENG K60 KD quadcopter. Now this is a review model from gearbest.com. I will have the links in the description of where you can pick one of these up if you're interested. And it looks like DENG is trying to imitate the 3DR Solo larger kind of smart quadcopter look on this one, and kind of putting it in a mini quadcopter form. I kind of like the look of this one actually. It's a little different than others where it's kind of got like a rectangular center portion to it. This is the black version. There's also a white version. And so in this review we're going to be basically going over what you get in the box, kind of initial assessments and thoughts out of the box, doing flight testing, getting some hat cam video and onboard video. This version does come with a cam I got here, so we're going to show you what the video looks like from the camera. And then come on back to the bench and give it kind of a final assessment, pros and cons, afterthoughts on how this thing did. So initially out of the box, you get this nice looking, the K60 itself is pretty nice looking little quad. You can see it's got some lights in the front, lights on the bottom, and then here's the controller. Kind of like one of these basic, just basic controllers. What I like on this one is they actually put some labeling on all the buttons. So this one does have, let's see, this would be headless, return to home. Oh, so this would be your rate, your high, low, your low, medium, high rates, and then this would be your flip button. Looks like there's no trigger buttons up on the top. And then you've got your trim here, and your camera snapshot, your video, and then you can turn the lights on and off. So you get the controller in the box, the quad here, you got your landing gear, which just basically bolts up to the bottom, screws up to the bottom. You got your 4 prop guards. You can put on those if you're training, take them off if you're a little more advanced, and you'll get better performance. And then we've got our camera. This is the camera version. It came in this box. I think they have also a non-camera version. They give you a 2 GB SD card. This is the camera itself. It looks like you can adjust the pitch of the camera here. Before you go ahead and fly, you can make it directly forward, or you can put it down, all the way down to actually pointing straight at the ground if you wanted. So that's kind of neat. I haven't seen many that actually allow you to point all the way down to the ground, so that's a good option to have. And then it looks like you've got 2 plugs in here. This would be for your power, and then the photo switches. And this will connect directly to the bottom. So over here you can see the plugins. So this would be the smaller one here for the photo, and then it looks like this one here for the power. So you just plug those 2 in and go ahead and clip it right in like that, and you're ready to go. And then the SD card looks like it goes in just on the back. So it looks like writing face up, and push in to click, and you're ready to go on that after you put the landing gear on. They also give you a 650 mAh 30C battery, a LiPo battery, and this would be your USB stick to view the files in your computer. For the micro SD card, just plug it right in here after you take your video, and you can check it out on your computer. And then it looks like they give you a nice set of 4 props, which is always nice. Some don't, some do. And congratulate these guys for giving you a whole set of 4, because you are going to be crashing and breaking some propellers if you're beginning, so that's always nice to have extra propellers in the box. They give you a little screwdriver for doing your landing gear, prop guards, and your props, whatever else you need to do. The little USB charger to charge your battery. And a lot of them nowadays are including the thumbstick separate. I guess just for packaging reasons, but these would just push right into the control sticks here. And the control's ready to go. And it looks like this one has a screw on the back, which you usually don't need. I usually just leave this out because this clip usually is enough for keeping these batteries in. So it takes 4 AA batteries. And you can see how this snaps in, so I really wouldn't leave that screw in. That's just kind of a nuisance. And then they give you some extra screws. It looks like all the screws are included on the plastic prop guards and landing gear. So these would just be extra screws for props if you lose some screws for the props or landing gear and stuff. So it's nice they give you some extra screws in the package as well. And last thing, they give you 2 manuals. They give you a Chinese manual and a English manual. And as far as this roller on the right side, I really don't see any indication in the manual of what it does. Here's the kind of like indicators for all of the controls here, and there's nothing, it says nothing about that. So maybe that's just kind of a dead roller. So basically, before we go out and fly, just to familiarize ourselves with the controls, it looks like it's pretty much as it's the icons are displayed here. So this will trim your your roll rate, your roll. If you're having trouble drifting to the right or left, you would trim this. This will trim your pitch, your forward and back. So if you're having trouble, you would just click this in the opposite direction if it's drifting in one way. This says it may not be available, this switch here. So this might not do anything. We'll find out in the flight. And this one will basically trim your yaw. So if it's turning slowly in one direction, just click it in the opposite direction and it should stabilize it. So we're going to go into the field and test this thing at the park, get some hat cam video, get some onboard video, and see just how this performs, and then come on back. Okay, so we're here at the park with the K60, and we're going to do a flight test and see how it performs. So we're turning on the K60 first. Oh, let's make sure it's plugged in. So this guy has a little front compartment here that just kind of snaps closed. And when you have the camera on, it seems like the camera kind of hits it, so just keep that in mind. A little bit windy today, so this will be a good test for how it performs in the wind as well. So there is a red blinking light on this left side. You can look through the vents and you can see a red blinking light. So I'm assuming that's recording. And I'm going to change the rate mode. That's 2, and that's 3. Since it's pretty windy, let me start with 2. Alright, let's see the yaw rate. And mode 2, mode 3. Okay, so mode 1 is slower. Mode 2 seems a little faster. And mode 3 looks like there's no difference. Alright, so let's try the headless mode. Which is this button here. Alright, so we're in headless. And I'm going to go ahead and yaw it. Yep. So it's coming back. Going forward. Whichever direction I'm facing. Looks like it's working pretty good. And let's go ahead and do a return to home while we're in headless. Ooh, it's pretty windy today. So I'm going to hit return to home. And it's coming back. Okay. Yeah, so return to home and headless seem to be working fine. Let's go for a range test. I'm going to fly out all the way to the other side of the park. Seems like the lift is a little lacking with this, with the camera on there. Still in control. Alright, so I was able to go all the way to the tree there. Now I'm coming back. You can see how fast it's coming back because it's so windy. Now I'm going to see what happens when I turn off the controller with some throttle on and just see if it does lose connection, what it does. So I'm going to give it about half throttle and I'll turn the controller off. And there it goes. Okay, so it went for a bit. Barely into the first test. Just that small little crash into the grass broke the this little hex, plastic hex that holds the propeller on. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the table, and maybe I'll try to super glue this back on, but that's kind of looks like it's going to be a con for crashability on this guy right away. So anyway, let's get back to the table and see how it did.
Okay, so we're back on the bench, but before we do the pros and cons, I want to give this guy another chance. I think I had just a bad crash upside down and kind of broke this prop mount prematurely here before I got a really good test. So I'm going to kind of give it the benefit of the doubt and just try a little bit of super glue repair on this little hex that the prop goes into. So I've got this Loctite plastics bonder, and it has like a two-part situation here, two-part deal where you just kind of put this little marker, you mark up both sides, the side that you're going to glue to, and also the other side here. So you just kind of put the solution on there. It's just like a marker felt tip, and you wait 1 minute. Okay, so you gave it a little over a minute to dry, and now we're gonna go ahead and bond the two parts. Had a little bit of difficulty getting this tip back open. I had to kind of cut it off to get the glue out, but so anyway, we're gonna put the glue on both parts. Okay, and go ahead and put this back kind of as close as possible to where it was. Don't want to really introduce any out of balance problems, so it's really important to try to get this really right back where it was. You want to just push it on, make sure it kind of goes in the grooves it was in and goes on super straight. I'm not even sure this is going to work, but just want to see if it'll possibly, if we can fly a little more to kind of do, didn't get a chance to do any flips, so I want to see if I can get back in the air on this. I'm going to give that probably about an hour to dry and then take it back to the park, or maybe just do some indoor flying and see if it'll actually hold, and try to do some flips and try to do some battery flight timing on it, so we can finish up this review.
Okay, so we got the propeller shaft fixed on the right front with that plastic super glue, and gonna quickly just do a test flight in the house and kind of finish the review on try to do some flips and stuff. So powering on, controller on. You'll see the blinking lights. You see how it
resets the gyro and the compass as soon as you turn it on, so you don't want to have it facing away from you. Throttle up, throttle down, ready to fly. And then if you ever need to reset the gyro, both sticks to the bottom left, and then let go and you'll see the flashing. Okay, so let's try it out. Rate 1, roll and pitch. Rate 2, roll and pitch. And rate 3, and how about the lift? So from hover to full throttle. Not too bad. You can turn the lights off and on. This light button. Whoa. Whoa. No, that was return to home. Wrong button. Okay, the lights are on the bottom down here by the camera button. There we go. The lights off, save some power, day flight. Lights back on, night flight. Let's try flip. So I'm hitting this 360 button and I'm pushing forward. Alright, try again. Okay, cool. So it does give a little bit of a throttle boost, kind of keep it flying before it flips. So without the landing gear and the camera, it's got decent lift. I noticed that with the camera and the landing gear on, lift wasn't that good. Go ahead and try to recal the trim. Okay, you hear that? Long beep means you're in the middle of the trim. Your trims are centered. So I'm going to do a re-gyro cal. And let's see how level it will fly with the trim centered and recalibrated. Not bad. It's drifting a little to the back, a little to the right, but just barely. I'd say that's actually pretty good. Recalibrated with the trim centered. Let's try headless in the house. Alright, so here's headless. Yeah, it's working. Oop. Okay. Okay, so the light started blinking about 8 minutes. Now let's see how long it takes for it to land. Okay, there we go. So you only have about 10 seconds to land.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we went out to do some park flying with the K60 and also some indoor flight. And so we're back at the bench here and we're going to go over some pros and cons of how this thing was. And first off, just starting with the obvious here, the breakage of the prop shaft was kind of disappointing. As you saw in the park flight, I went ahead and tried a radio off failsafe test, and basically the K60 drifted maybe for a few seconds and then seems to just drop once the radio signal goes out. But unfortunately it did drop upside down, and it did, I guess it was a little too hard on it, and it broke this this prop mount here, which is kind of unfortunate because you'd think that these would be kind of strong, but unfortunately it looks like this is a weak point here. I did fix it once and got some indoor house flight, as you saw, but then I did have kind of a hard landing in the house and it broke off again. So the second time I tried to fix it here, I couldn't get it centered enough to where it spins center, so it's kind of wobbly. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and order this part and get a new part in if I want to fly any more. But fortunately, there's only 3 screws you have to remove. It looks like you can pry this apart pretty easily. So you just remove 1, 2, 3 screws, and you can actually go ahead and just pry this apart, and you can, you know, it's gonna kind of bend, flex the body a little bit without breaking, and you can actually just pull this whole motor and gear assembly out like this to work on it. And you can kind of see here where the engineering kind of failed on this one. You can see that it does have a metal shaft on the bottom, and then it comes up and just stops right there, and then it's hollow for the rest of the way up. So when the screw goes in to hold the prop on, it goes in just enough to where there's a little gap between, there's a little hollow gap between the metal pin and the screw here. So it's got this little weak point right there, and I hopefully they can take care of that. And I'm going to show you how they should take care of it on the U807. This was another review model I also reviewed, and you can see what these guys have done. If you look in here, you can see that these guys went ahead and brought this metal shaft all the way up through the gear, through the prop post mount, and had that threaded actually for the screw for the props to go into. So that really strengthened this whole shaft here just by bringing the metal up all the way. And so I think this was a really well engineered quadcopter there. So these guys, looks like they kind of chinsed out on that part as far as the structural integrity, and I really think they need to fix this for it to be durable. It was kind of disappointing. It was my first flight, and just to have that whole thing shear off it kind of ruined the whole review as far as the flight portion at the park. But you know, not too hard to fix. I'll go ahead and probably get a couple more of these gears just to have them. They're probably just a couple bucks, and I'm sure they're gonna have them at GearBest or wherever you wanted to purchase them. But anyway, it is fairly easy, it looks like, to work on, even though it's not very modular. At least you can just take off 3 screws and pry it up. So I'm going to run through some pros and cons now on this guy. I was really hoping it would be really good because I did like the look of it. It's got this really nice kind of 3DR solo look to it. A little different than all the rest of the quads out in the market, and I really like that. One of the cons is it does have all black props, so if you don't have the lights on and you can't see the lights, you can't really tell the orientation unless you're moving. So I wish they would have maybe had put red props on the front or the back, and that would kind of go with the same color scheme that it has here. That would have been nice to have red props for orientation purposes. The camera it comes with, bad jello. As you saw in the review video, onboard video, the jello in this was just really bad, and that's unfortunate because it clips on really tight, but it's just so out of balance, the props, that it just makes the jello really bad. There's probably a few things you could do to mitigate that by putting maybe some double-sided sticky tape in between. I didn't do that because I just wanted to test it out of the box, but as you can see in the video, the jello is unacceptable on the cam there. So if you did want to take onboard camera shots or video, you're gonna have a lot of jello, and you're gonna want to have to figure something out to mitigate that jello. As far as the modes go, the headless mode worked really well. The return to home mode worked well. With these toy quads, it's basically just kind of a back in your general column direction for it to return to home. So if you are far to the right, it's just going to come back in that specific direction. It's not going to come diagonally back towards you. So just keep that in mind. One of the cons, it had a kind of a weird mid-throttle problem. I couldn't really get it to hover midway when the battery was fully charged. When the battery kind of got to its halfway point, it was a little easier to get that mid-throttle. It wasn't as proportional as maybe it should have been, so it was kind of tough to get it in that. It was either going up or going down, and I couldn't get it to hover unless it was like halfway through the battery. Did have good flips. It flipped in every direction well. It had a little throttle boost automatically incorporated when you did the flip, so it would keep it up high and wouldn't fall to the ground. So the flips were fine. It did drop after the transmitter was turned off, which is good. You don't want it to just fly away on you or go up or whatever, as I've had a couple other quads do to me. So it's good that it drops after it loses connection. It did have 3 rates of flight. So you had mode 1, which was kind of easy, like beginner in the house kind of flying. Mode 2 was a little more, and then mode 3 was the fastest, the most tilt and roll it could do. And between the 3 modes, it had 2 levels of yaw. So the mode 1 had a slower yaw, and then the mode 2 and 3 had the same, a little bit faster yaw, which was nice. I would have liked to see it go a little more, have a little more pitch and roll to go a little faster. It had trouble fighting the wind. It was rather windy at the park, so you can't mark it too much on that because it was really windy at the park. But it didn't seem to fight the wind all that well, and the lift was a little lacking. And I think the lift might have been a little lacking because these props are super flexy, so that could be a part of it. But it also is rather heavy for a mini quad like this. It's heavier than most, so just keep that in mind as well. The range, as far as the range goes on the K60, it was decent. I was getting about 300 feet until it would drop out of range, and that's actually pretty good. That's on the higher end. A few of the ones I've reviewed, like similar to maybe the X5C, were pretty bad. Like you maybe only get like 100 to 150 feet. So 300 foot stock range with a stock controller and stock antenna and everything, that's actually pretty good. That's on the higher end, so I'm satisfied with that. As far as the flight times go, flights naked in the house without any landing gear, no camera, no prop guards, I was getting 7 minutes and 40 seconds until the low battery light started blinking, and then another 20 seconds until
it just would force land and drop to the ground. So about 8 minutes until it would actually just go ahead and drop to the ground. So that's pretty good. And then if you're going to have the camera on there and recording, you're going to lose a couple of minutes. So about 6.5 minutes with the camera on there and recording, and then without recording, gain about a half a minute. And that's with the landing gear on. So because you're going to have the landing gear on with the camera. But anyway, besides the main thing was that weak point on the prop shaft, I'd say it's a pretty good quad. I like the overall look. They could lighten it a little bit. It seems like it's a little heavy for a mini quad compared to some of the other ones, and that probably has to do with why it doesn't lift. It doesn't lift that good. I like the battery compartment here. The battery, I could actually fit a larger 200 more mAh battery from my X118, that FPV quad that I also reviewed. And that fit in here perfect, and it actually gave it a couple more minutes of flight time. So it does have the potential to fit a battery that's quite a bit larger in here. So you could definitely get some larger batteries. You probably want to make sure they're a higher C rating, so you don't hit on the lift too much. If you have a low C rated battery and add more weight with the battery, it's gonna not lift very good. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, guys, again, this was a review model from gearbest.com. If you're interested, the links are in the description of where you can pick this up. And I hope you enjoyed the review and it helps you to decide if you'd like to get something like this. And please subscribe, like, and comment. And also check out my other videos on the channel. I do a lot of quadcopter reviews, mini quads, all that kind of stuff, RC, some tech, some cameras. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.